Good afternoon. Calling to order Friday, March 13th, emergency school board of education meeting. Roll call, please.
President Ortega.
Here.
Trustee Bradford absent. Trustee Chubb.
Here.
Trustee Garcia.
Here.
Here.
And if we can all stand for the flag salute. Right over your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any public verbal comments? See none, we will continue to item A, approval that the emergency situation exists in accordance with Government Code Section 54956.5. Mr. Ducharme.
Thank you, President Ortega. First of all, thank you all for gathering on such short notice. What you need to do in order to conduct this meeting is pass an emergency resolution to have the meeting. We fully believe and recommend that the district, the state, and the country, under the conditions of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, is experiencing a emergency condition with relation to the safety of students, staff, and to control the pandemic throughout the community. So we recommend you have this meeting and pass the resolution to do so.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
First by Trustee Garcia, second by Trustee Rego. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote.
President Ortega.
Yes.
Trustee Chubb.
Yes.
Trustee Garcia.
Yes.
Trustee Rego.
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Item B, adopt resolution number 2020/20, resolution delegating authority to take necessary action to protect students and staff from the spread of coronavirus COVID-19. Mr. Ducharme.
Thank you again, President Ortega. I will give you as full a briefing as I can. It probably would be good to have a motion in a second and then begin discussion, and I can do a report.
Move for approval.
Second.
First, Trustee Garcia, second by Trustee Chard. Sorry. Any questions or comments? See none.
Yes, I do.
I should have asked it probably on the other one. With our situation being that we need to do a resolution, will we have to come back in again, or will we have total control over if this situation has to be extended? Will we be we're giving the authority to you?
I will
So-
probably answer those questions if you have any before I make a presentation. I intend to give you a full presentation.
Okay.
On rundown on the district, on the virus, on the county, on the state,
Okay,
and the national government, as
That's
much
fine.
to my knowledge.
thank you.
Trustee Rego. Okay.
Right. So let me try to review. I'm going to do this in as much of an order as I can. Obviously, it's been a very time in the district. I want to thank, just right at the outset, our Teachers Association. Wendy Eccles is here. We've been meeting with them and with CSEA, John Wilson, all morning, and I am beyond proud. I am grateful. I think it speaks of the unity when in a time of crisis that we were able to send out a joint letter representing both associations and the district to our employees that we will be closing school on Monday. We have been in and will continue through the process to discuss the role, legalities, all of the details because we know the devil was in the details, but everyone is committed to making the best of this situation, protecting our students, our staff, and as importantly, our community. So thank you publicly. Appreciate more. It's more than support. They were just full partners in the decision making we went through this morning, and I think that's just so critical for our staff, for our students, our parents, and our community to know there is, as they say, no light between any of us, and we're together. As you are all aware, coronavirus, or the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, is one of a series of viruses that is not necessarily uncommon, but a new strain. It is spreading throughout the world in what has now been defined as a pandemic. I am not a health officer. I will tell you I've read extensively in the past 30 seconds and more that it is airborne and surface-borne. It lasts in the air for as long as 9 hours, on surfaces for up to several days, particularly hard metal. It is transmitted from one person to another, generally by droplets or mucus that are breathed in and out. So far, it seems particularly susceptible to older people, and it increases with age to the point where those over 80 years old, if they get the disease, have a 20% mortality rate, and it goes down. Overall, it's a 1.7 to 3.4% mortality rate, 20 to 30 times that of the common flu, and absent any vaccine at this point to control it. The most effective measure worldwide has been shutdowns to avoid to create social distancing. It is the only known prevention at this point. Treatment is to a great extent palliative, and only for those who are experiencing severe respiratory effects, oxygen, and trying to restore breathing, which is generally the ultimate cause of mortality with it. Often it is asymptomatic or mild symptoms in children and younger people. There's a lot of theories about that. No one knows for sure why. So given that, we have no known case in Jurupa Unified. I think that is deceptive in that it is possible at any moment there could be a known case. We had one contract staff member who went in for testing this morning. It is fully expected that once, as with other communities, once one case is identified, there will be more. I think one needs to do is look at New Rochelle and New York, Italy. China actually seemed to do a fair job, as we know today, of controlling the spread of the virus by lockdowns. For the past, several days, and particularly the last day, we've been on numerous calls with Riverside University Health System, Public Health, the county health officer, Dr. Cameron Kaiser, MD, essentially going over the impacts of the virus and the dangers of it. And personally, I've been texting with him since last night, imploring him to issue an order allowing school districts to close down under a state of emergency. We were told just prior to this meeting that he would issue that order, giving latitude to local districts in allowing us to continue in employment at schools, essential employees. We have in Jurupa Unified School District deemed essential employees to be those necessary to provide free and reduced lunches to those students who are what's the word I want? Who are required, what's the word I want? Eligible. I knew there was a word there. Who are eligible. We would not provide those lunches during spring break as we normally wouldn't. There will also be grounds crews, custodians, and other employees available. We have worked with our teachers today to put online lessons, links, and other things available. We'll continue to put those online for as long as we need to. The directive by the Health Department commences Monday and ends April 3rd, which coincides with the dates that we set aside for school closure. We didn't know that. Call us lucky, you're good. We are momentarily expecting a similar press conference from Governor Newsom. We did make a decision earlier today. Irrespective of that, we would close schools and therefore are coming to you with a requirement to issue a board resolution empowering essentially myself and designated staff to close schools and do other things. Now, technically, under the code, you don't necessarily need to do that, but in an abundance of conservative fiscal business, we want to be able to comply with Education Code 42124. I keep getting the 4s and the 2s mixed up, but essentially require that you do that I issue an emergency declaration, which I will immediately after this meeting, and that you sign a J13A, which you normally do, but that validates that we were unable to provide instruction. The basis for our inability to provide instruction is the spread of the virus, the potential spread in this community, the fact that we have 19,000 students, and many in multifamily households living with older people, and that the spread of the virus is much contained before the fact than after the fact. Our hope and prayer is that we are still before the fact, seeing as many people are asymptomatic for a number of days. That order went out, our order to close schools went out earlier today. I will say that our surrounding districts have all issued similar declarations, orders. They will be closing school on Monday. To my knowledge, Alvord employees will be going to work on Monday to get assignments. We deemed the schools closed and trying to make things very clear without ambiguity. We are fielding questions at the moment. We have been for the past several days from staff, students, parents, etc. There have been a number, not a large number, of internet postings, some concerned with why are you even closing schools? It's just the flu, to what am I supposed to do now? Why didn't you close schools last week? We, as I mentioned, none of us are health officers. We rely on the latest information and deem it prudent and necessary to not offer instruction and not be able to offer instruction. I think that gives a very general overview. I'm happy to answer questions, discussion, and with that, recommend that you pass Resolution 2020-25.
Thanks for the details, Elliot. We really appreciate it, and I want to thank all the staff that has been working really hard to try to get everything together and put this plan in motion, because we know that there's been a lot of people expressing their concerns, but others. So, and honestly, I think this is the right action to take, just as the precautionary. But I do have several questions, a list of questions. So if you guys need to jump in, feel free. You'd mentioned that a contracted staff member is testing currently. What is the wait time? 3 days?
I don't know that we know. We're not even sure what tests are available. She went into the physician. We don't know what the physician told her. Because I've heard cases where people have gone in and not been tested, even when presenting symptoms. So, and while I can't really tell you the person's name,
No, I wouldn't.
they reside in another county, so it may not be reported even to our health department. They are not our employee. What we will follow up with all the due diligence that we can to find out any information to notify anybody that.
So there's no obligation that they need to inform us that they may have exposed our students and our staff?
My understanding is they're obligated to, if they go to the doctor and they're tested, the physician is obligated to notify the health department, which in this case would be in another county.
Okay. And then you mentioned something
Yeah,
about...
we do have a list of all the students that the person was in contact with.
Oh, okay. Great, thank you.
So I expect that we're going to find out. the person self-reported to us. I don't think there's any concern about them reporting. It's just that legally, they didn't have to. We don't know what'll happen once they go.
And so then, okay, not back. So then if we are notified, we're going to contact those families and just say they've been exposed to it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. We already notified the county health department. Their response was they really couldn't take any action till the person was tested positive.
Okay. Even though they're in the other county?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Let
it
me
kind of
ask
might be a,
question on that. Does the health department have an obligation to notify us because she's an employee here and could have, or was employed here and could possibly have spread? Because I don't know what the incubation period is, like if she's in contact with a teacher or a student and then she doesn't see them for 2 weeks, is a 2-week period that's the incubation possibly?
I would not attempt to answer the medical question. We're not sure. I've read many different phases of incubation. I do not know if the county health department is obligated. I know they have been extremely cooperative and have no reason to believe they would not let us know. I believe we will be told one way or another if the person tests positive, and we would notify families.
And she possibly, or he possibly would notify us.
Yeah, I will tell you this, they have a state license. I believe under that license requirement, they would have at least an obligation to notify any of their clients. But I'm not an attorney or a doctor,
Right,
so I want to, yeah, well, and some days. But anyway, we will do everything we can to make sure that situation is followed through thoroughly.
If she tests positive, do they have to quarantine those children? Possibly?
Probably, to my understanding. All quarantines have still been voluntary.
Oh, okay.
okay.
Did you have more?
Next question?
That's all on that one.
Okay. I'm not sorry for asking all these questions. It's just my style.
I encourage you, I think it's
Okay.
really important that as a board, you're apprised and knowledgeable, and
Now, you mentioned online lessons that for the teachers to do online lessons. Is that what you said?
so they will be online resources. There is no obligation on the part of teachers to deliver lessons or students to turn them in. We expect some teachers, particularly some advanced placement teachers, might provide more support to their students because of upcoming dates, but we are doing that through the district technology department. We've come up with, actually they worked all day coming up with lessons and links that could be posted online, and I believe resources for K through 2 also. But they are not, there's no obligation, they're voluntary.
Okay. And then now, what is I don't know if it's a premature question, but what if this goes beyond April 3rd? Do we have something already prepared or we're planning? Because we can't have our kids miss that much school.
If it goes beyond April 3rd, it will clearly be a statewide and countywide issue, and it'll be a determination throughout the state. At the very worst, it's possible there will be no school the rest of the year until it's contained. I think that everyone is preparing for things to be the worst so that we're prepared. We as a district are. I don't know if Governor will come out with a statement regarding that. Hopefully, it will pass in a number of days, weeks, and we'll move on with business as usual. But
Okay. And then the missed time, are we extending the school year beyond the traditional calendar?
it is not our intent at this point. We're asking for a waiver for a shortened school year. We expect that there will be blanket waivers across the states to do that, unless the state provides other resources and direction.
in that case, if the state were to cancel school the rest of the year, how does this affect our seniors or anyone that will be leaving? How does this leave that? What situation does this leave them? Because we're already taking 3 weeks out of their, well, 2 weeks, not 3, but actually only 2 weeks out of their their final year or their years and towards their graduation.
I expect that there would be a blanket graduation waiver and that we would graduate seniors, finish with grades. We may have to, at some point, bring teachers in to finish grading. I don't know. Those are all directives we would have to have from the California Department of Education, and there has been no advice, guidance, or direction at this point. If it continues, certainly we would be on their footsteps. What I have heard is there's already been discussion of suspending the CAST testing, suspending the state dashboard. The recommendation we'll make is to put every arrow on the dashboard on blue and say school districts responded to the pandemic with great superlative efforts. But not to, I really think right now our test, the test of our community and our students, is to survive the pandemic. We will advocate and make sure that our students are not shortchanged in any way possible. I'm just using it because I'm hoarse and been talking, yelling, and
I've been talking for the last 6 hours.
I want to back up to something you said in proximity to the emergency declaration regarding our inability to provide instruction, and you said something about our financials about that. So how does this, what's it do to our funding and our ADA?
well, that's why we're having this meeting. We're having a meeting so that unless a blanket waiver is granted, we are able to apply to the state for a waiver for all days of missed instruction. And I mean, again, it does not cost the state any additional money to provide the resources to us to pay our staff, our contracted obligation, and to keep our staff employed and paid through the rest of the year, irrespective of what happens. That's the very purpose of this meeting. The form that you would sign is a general form on instructional days and minutes, I believe.
If this is only going to go for 3 weeks, so that's not really too bad, but if it were to go longer, would our employees be eligible? I mean, I would think that we wouldn't be able to pay them the whole rest of the year, so their contract would possibly end, say, April or April 3rd. If that were the case, would they be eligible for unemployment?
So I'll start at the end. Teachers do not pay in the state unemployment.
Right, okay.
We have a contractual obligation,
To get paid.
irrespective of whether we call them to duty or not, to pay our certificated staff. Our classified staff could only be laid off under a layoff condition. We are fully anticipating that the state will maintain our budget and keep us whole as if we were operating school through the rest of the year.
Okay, so they would be paid through
They will
June.
be paid.
Or
And,
whatever.
and we don't expect a breach in service. I mean, we expect the same thing. If it goes beyond June, to have the same issue. I mean, I don't see the state as doing a massive layoff or inability to pay certificated or classified staff.
And that's where we would start losing money because we're.
Only
putting
if they
money out
cut
and
our
not bringing
budget
it
for
in.
next year.
What questions haven't we asked you that we should?
Does the county order cover us? And the answer is yes. My understanding, we have not seen it, but it was read to us, that it covers us for not providing instruction for now through April 3rd. I think the county officer would extend that if necessary. He's been very responsive. Dr. Kaiser, who is the only one that can call that public health emergency. He has and did listen very clearly, fashioned his order. As I said, we haven't seen it, but it was explained to us about 45 minutes ago that will work with every school district, no matter how they do it locally, that we can declare the emergency, not have that. We also have a waiver from the federal government so that we can feed students under free and reduced lunch, and continue to do that, I assume, through the end of the school year. But we can serve anyone under 18. So I get lunch?
That was my concern about the children who are eligible, and how are they going to be served, and so that, how do we prevent our children going hungry who normally,
We will provide places where, I'll let Mrs. Ford do the answer. She's.
Mr. Bynum, he's been working on it, so he is prepared to provide lunches. Now, one of the things that it would just be a lunch. It would be similar to what we do for the summer feed program. So anyone under the age of 18, whether they're eligible or not for lunch, they can come and get a lunch. Anyone in our community under the 18 or under will be eligible to come and get a lunch. Under the age of 18, I'm sorry, so 17 or...
do they need to show any ID that they reside within our district?
I don't believe we normally will ask for that unless, we were to be inundated with people. But we typically go on their word that they reside within the district. And we'll... They are, yeah. And now we'll open all schools with the exception of Camino Real, but Camino Real students can go to Patriot High School and they'll be served lunch at Patriot High School. And they will be able to just come through. They'll receive a lunch that's basically packed to go, because one of the stipulations is we can't have people congregating in large groups. So it will really be an in and out process. They're going to come in, they're going to get their box or bag lunch, and then they're going to leave the campus.
What are those hours?
11 to 1.
And so they're getting a lunch. Was there mention of breakfast?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a breakfast.
It's
It would
just
it would
lunch.
be the lunch.
Okay. And then the classified staff you said will be working, some will be working through this?
Yes.
Do
Yes,
they
sir.
get a different compensation or anything? Or no, it's just standard?
No, it would be their normal work.
Normal
Their
work.
normal work day.
Okay.
Is that based on a volunteer basis or are we requiring them or are we asking for
We're
volunteers?
we're requiring them to work their normal work on time.
We'll thank them for sticking through it and staying committed.
Yes.
It's really important. I mean, I know
Yes.
the health and safety is important, but I know that we have students that need help with food, so.
Yeah, and they're a
thank them.
very caring group,
Good.
so.
Madam President, I have a question. So what about people in this building? Is everyone working?
Yes, and we are still in the process of defining essential employees. And I was just asked the same question by 3 other superintendents. Basically, at this point, our definition is all people involved with payroll. It will probably be many of the people in this building, including some who would push out some of the instruction, at least immediately, some school site staff. I think we're asking school site secretaries to be in the office on Monday. Grounds people will continue to take care of grounds. Custodians, at least to get the buildings clean. Once they're clean, if they're vacated, they may be released. We're working with, part of that needs to be bargained with the association. Clearly, all food service workers, and we do have the ability to require that they work. But clearly, those are issues that are under the RADA Act bargainable because of the impacts, correct? So.
Okay, I had one more question too. I'm trying to think. First, I'd like to thank NEAJ and CSEA and the district, of course, for working together to come to this conclusion. I was listening to NPR on the way here, and State Superintendent Tony Thurman was talking about it, and so they were asking him some of these types of questions, and I think it's really the right thing to do, I think, and for our student safety, and I really appreciate and fully support this. And I can't think of that other question, so I'll just let it be, I guess. Thank you guys for everything. Thanks, Mr. Sean.
We were looking all day for something from Tony Thurman and couldn't find anything.
They interviewed him on NPR, asked him all kinds of questions. Some of the questions the board just asked, like the contingencies or whatever, what we're going to do if it goes past April 3rd. And he really highlighted and said that, put an emphasis on, let's take care of this first. Let's do this first, and then we'll have those conversations later. So,
Thank you for picking up on that.
yeah. Thank you.
I know it's not our purview regarding babysitting, but are we providing any kind of resources for parents who are working who would normally be confident that their children are being cared for in school? Any community resources where we could point people?
Unfortunately, no. And the public health issue is, the whole idea is to have people stay home. Unfortunately, it will have a negative impact on families. I don't mean to be callous, but we can't control that. I think it's in the public interest. Yeah.
One more
I have
question.
a
Madam President, I just have one more. I promise, if you don't make it too much of a cliffhanger for me. So typically, we have expelled students, and I know that they're not on campus in Arlington. They probably have closed down too, and you know, the next board meeting following that, I'm sure they have a course action plan of maintaining their attendance, their assignments, as well as remaining out of trouble. Is that going to interrupt any of their time, because we've committed that by a certain board meeting that they would be voted back in, or is that kind of like go at the wayside?
So, first of all, you still have board meetings. Sorry, you're essential. You're not employees, but you're essential.
Right.
So you have to have meetings. So any action regarding their expulsions would probably continue. I can't answer what Arlington is going to do with them. We will fulfill our legal obligations. There may be some waivers on dates and things if they were unable, for example, to get the instruction they promised regarding suspended expulsions. Clearly, they won't be in school, but if they get in trouble with the law, we would bring a revocation of the suspended expulsion. We will try to deal with them routinely as possible, but unknowns.
Okay, I was just curious what's going to happen when, you know, if it's time
Great-
for them to
Great
be
question. Actually, we
permitted
didn't
back
get
into
that
school.
far today.
That was part of my question, actually, about board operations and the regular calendar that we have to follow and obligations that we have, and so that's going to continue as normal. So I guess the answer is yes.
Yes. I believe that part of the governor's order, or whatever it was he issued, allowed for more remote board meetings and remote access to board meetings. So we may look into providing a different, a more open public venue so people don't have to come here. We'll work on that between now and the next board meeting. But I would say, first of all, it's not only are you obligated to your board calendar, but there's business, the elected business still needs to continue.
When will this repeal, is that typically something like after the pandemic, or something the next board meeting, or when we feel comfortable that we can release this?
This would
Code.
continue through this pandemic and the COVID-19 issue. The declaration that I'm going to do following it would go through April 3rd, because that coincides with the county health order. That could continue, and that's part of what this resolution does, empowers me to do that declaration. We would, if we were to go in any way beyond the parameters of either a state or county order, clearly we would be telling you, as we did, 2 hours ago, that we thought there might be a possibility of that.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm done.
I have a question. For you, the employees who are gonna, the central employees who are gonna be here, is there a protocol if you don't feel well? Besides washing your hands, obviously, are you guys sharing that with the employees here, the central employees?
We've asked all employees, actually, I'm glad you asked that, because what we've done is a couple of things. Even essential employees, we have told them that if they are in any way feeling that they are compromised, have compromised immunity systems in a high-risk group, meaning by age, some underlying illness, particularly respiratory illnesses, or really in any way have a major legitimate discomfort with coming to work, that we will work with them on accommodations. We, as administrators, have all kind of taken not a vow, but that we need to take care of ourselves. We would certainly self-report. We're doing what we need to do to stay healthy, because we consider our jobs fairly important, at least, and to stay out of, essentially follow the advice of state and local officials and do everything we can not to get the virus, but if we do, to self-report, get diagnosed. And we would certainly send anybody, including any of the people in this room, home if they were deemed contagious. Is that correct, Mr. Brooks?
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Seeing no further questions? Yeah, one more.
Do we have an estimated figure of what we are going to lose between now and April 3rd? I mean, what we might lose if we don't get a waiver? Do we have a figure there? Has that been calculated or estimated?
With the county health order, it would be zero.
Okay.
We fully anticipate that order covers us, and if that doesn't with this order, it will. So if they're absent any order and a denial of this by the state for some reason, it was $1.1 million a day. And that was, I think, it was certainly one of the issues that the county health officer took into effect, that there was a disincentive for school districts to do the right thing. I mean, in essence, we decided we were going to take that risk to the benefit of our community, and that's why it was very important for you all to know that that risk was there. I do not believe it's there at all. I mean, I can't predict, there's somebody somewhere may vote to change something, but I doubt that.
I'm sure that the state board is meeting, but will they meet and I don't know how to say it, not reevaluate, but talk about our LCAP and our LCFF, all of those? I mean, because those things, I know you'll still be working on those, but those will really be affected by that.
Our professional organizations have been advocating for clarification on those issues. We don't know at all. I don't think there's instructionally or otherwise been any direction. I believe that they will certainly consider suspending the CASP and the dashboard if necessary graduation requirements. I can't imagine they won't, but to date there has not. I have to say it's been with a little frustration. We were hoping for greater guidance from either the Department of Education or the governor's office. Hopefully that comes through in the next few days and we'll be on top of it. But
Well, and as I asked before, how will this affect our seniors? And that's my concern too, is have all of them that are trying to get into the colleges, have they been able to complete their testing for those students that, I mean, I know tests, you take it's not the SAT, but whatever it is to get there. I can't remember what it's called now, but I don't think it's.
well, the SAT, the ACT, so those are external organizations. We don't know what they will do. We have been in contact with the College Board that issues AP exams. Again, I can't imagine, I mean, colleges have been very responsive. Actually, they have been more responsive than local school districts.
Yeah.
Every local college has gone online. I'm sure there will be some forbearance in terms of applications and tests, and I can't speak on their behalf. Their actions to date have been legitimately supportive of students.
What has been your reaction from parents? I mean, we got one letter from one parent who was asking that we do this, and of course, we'd already started the process of some of this, closing the schools or whatever. Are the parents, do they seem to be okay with this, or we have some that are getting very upset about it?
We have a couple that at least posted online. I don't know.
I didn't look at that.
I have not been manning the calls. Maybe Mr. Schmalak can answer that, and Mrs. Eccles might be able to respond in terms of her teachers.
As you can imagine, the calls come in both camps. We've had people call for closures. We've had people saying this really impacts our lives. So the reality is it's the best thing that we can do at this time. We move forward on what's best for students.
Okay, thank you.
I can do microphone, or I can use my teacher, or I can do my teacher voice. No, okay. So no, our teachers have been asking, because there are concerns coming from all of the families. They're coming from the families at home. A lot of our teachers who are older teachers, I'll just say, who have spouses who have compromised health, parents who have compromised health. We don't know what our students are coming in with, so they really are very much in support of this, and we're to the point of demanding it. And I'm going to speak as a parent for a minute here, because I also have a senior, and so I am concerned about some of the activities that may be canceled as a result, but I'd rather have him miss prom than get sick. And, and so again, as a parent, I ask the same questions about, I'm concerned about his AP tests and his graduation, but more at the end of the day, I would rather us all be healthy. So, my son, he was upset at first, just because the students have worked very, very hard for a lot of the activities, students in athletics, students in academic decathlons or mock trials. I mean, the students they're upset because of the activities, but they are understanding the reason behind it. I'm not going to lie, I don't think they're upset about missing school. I think they're upset about the activities, and I'm just being honest here. But more importantly, I think once they really understand, and they understand the rationale behind it, they're getting behind it. So I hope that helps.
There's an expression in Japanese, shogunai or shikataganai, which means it cannot be helped, and it cannot be helped.
Any further questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move. We have a first was Trustee Garcia, and second by Trustee Chard, right? We'll move on. Call for the vote. Yes.
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 Resolution passes 5-0. Any final comments, Mr. Duchon?
My deepest gratitude to each of you. I know this is not easy for you either. It's not easy when your job is to educate students, to say we're not going to be providing that education, but as Trustee Bradford said, it is necessary. Again, thank you to our associations. Thank you for the parent comments.
Yes.
We all know that there will be consequences, and you will be hearing complaints about them. I think we all can leave feeling not good. Nobody feels good about any of this, but feeling that we have done the right thing. And just to put it in perspective, we serve 1/5 of the population of the city. And that 1/5 is literally in contact with all of the rest of the population. If anything can be done to stem the pandemic in Jurupa Valley, it's closing school. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, on behalf of the board, we thank each and every one of you for joining us in this emergency meeting. I would highly encourage all of you also to take care of yourselves. Your health is number one. You also have families to go to, so I think it's very important for you all to really put yourselves in that position of taking well care of yourselves. And I'm not very religious, but I think prayer is a big medicine too. So I think we will all keep every one of our students and family members in our prayers, and that all of this will go in peace. And I just want to say, any final comments from board members?
I do want to say something.
Yeah.
You know, I've been hearing people say, this is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous that everybody's going so crazy. And maybe some of the stuff is crazy, but you have to think back that we have really had a fairly good life. I'm 70 years old. I'm one of the oldest ones in here. And we've not lived through a mass death in our country, like smallpox and things like that. So we haven't really seen something. We've been very lucky. And if this is the way that we have to stop something like that to spread to where everyone ends up sick, because some people are dying from it because of their age or for complications that they have with their own illnesses already, then I think this is everyone's job to help a little bit, and just, it's only for a short period of time, hopefully, and if this is the way we have to do it, we'll learn from this for next time too. So thank you, and thank you again for all of the work. I know when I talked to Elliot, he said he'd been on the phone since midnight. I cannot imagine you guys, all of you, I'm sure, have been answering questions and doing planning and all this, and that takes a lot of effort on your outside of your regular job of just running the district. So thank you for taking care of all this for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to say real quick and to thank everyone again for all your hard work on this. It's a tough decision, because you also got to look at it from the standpoint of, kids have families that are vulnerable at home too, and so sometimes they're better, maybe they're safer at school, you might say. But I really do think it's the right thing. As Mr. Duchamp stated, 1/5 of the population are students, and plus a lot of their parents. Some of their parents work for the district, so I'm glad that we made this tough decision, and we'll. That's all I have to say, I guess.
Thank you. Cabinet and Elliot, thank you for keeping us informed. I mean, there was, things are moving by the moment, and so during the pandemic, though, I really value that your professionalism and your response and remaining calm through all this. And, want to echo what Linda said, just please be careful out there, stay healthy, and just, let's just hope that this doesn't last very long. But thank you all.
I would like to stick up for you, Superintendent Duchamp, and what Trustee Chard said about people who have been so well for so long reminded me of what my brother, who's a retired rocket scientist, said about NASA, is that launches went perfectly for so long that people forgot how dangerous space flight is. And he said of the launches he did, it's never an uneventful flight until after the shuttle has landed. So this will not be uneventful until it is declared over, and whatever you need to decide in the interim, I have full confidence in you, and just tell us what we can do to help you.
Thank you very much. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.